the next question here was from Z Needs More. The question was, at 60 and a half, my biggest challenge heading into retirement is overcoming the fear that my spouse and I will not have enough. I know I need to spend more on travel and enjoy life while I'm still active, but I'm still learning how to quiet the anxiety and give myself permission to do it. Man, that's a tough one. I'm a nerd and a left brain guy, and this is definitely a psychological component. I've done quite a few videos on this subject. I have my opinion. I think the core question here is, how do people who have built and flexed the saving muscle over their whole life give themselves permission to spend, even though they might feel fear of taking a different route than they have their whole life leading up to that point? But first, that is like a totally natural, logical, human psychological component. If we just remove ourselves from the finance element and drag and drop ourselves over onto any other area of life. I'll give an example. I like exercise, so I'll use an exercise example. Let's say all my life for my exercise, all I've done is run. Suddenly at 62, I need to change the course of my life. I'm never going to run again. And what I'm going to be told to do is only do jumping rope. Or even a more extreme, different example, I'm only going to lift weights. I know lifting weights is helpful for me, but I've never done it. Well, naturally, I'm going to feel a lot of tension about it. It's going to be a really big point of friction because all I've ever done is run. I know how to run. I feel comfortable running. I know what types of injuries come up. I know what types of what's too much, what's too little. I know how it fits into my worldview. And I have no idea about the huge range of possible uncertain outcomes that could come into my life if I suddenly start weightlifting, having never done it. And I would make the case that that is kind of the same thing, right? We lived our whole life saving. We don't really know what it feels like, the complexities of taking money out of retirement accounts. How much is possible? How will I do it too quickly? Will I do it in the right way from the right accounts? And I don't say this to you as a way to overwhelm you, but more to say, hey, this is like totally relatable. Now, do people transition from running all their lives to lifting weights? For sure. Do people successfully transition from being accumulators all their lives to being decumulators? Absolutely. They do it all the time. What's the method to do that? I think there's a couple steps. The first is, one, to acknowledge that the time frame over which you will get comfortable is longer than you'd like. Much as I'm 37, and my frame of time is much narrower than many of my clients who are in their 60s. They've lived longer lives, and so I like things fast. And much as I would have liked to have clients who I meet with on the first or second meeting and say to them, you're going to feel better tomorrow. And I wish I could have manifested. I have just learned the hard way that that is not the case. It often takes 1, 2, or 3 years. So the first is just acknowledging and me helping give people permission. That's, again, not advice, but education here. Giving you guys permission that it will take a little bit longer than you expect, but that is for the better. The second step is to understand that the roadmap to getting there is one of testing, right? It's small incremental tests. So we might build a plan, let's say, that says you have twice as much spending capacity as you're currently spending, and you're struggling to give yourself permission to do that. Setting the expectation that you would go from where you are today to matching that doubling of your spending capacity in 1 day or 1 month or 1 year is very unrealistic. It's possible, but it will feel very uncomfortable. A better method might be to say, hey, let's take 25% incremental jumps over 4 quarters. Let's do, if you're spending $5,000 today per month, let's next quarter go to spending 25% more, which is $1,250 more, so $6,250, and do that for 3 months. And then let's do another incremental jump the next quarter. And then by a year, you'll have made the full doubling of spending capacity. And part of that is you'll learn what you spend on, what you care about, what you don't care about. Part of that is you just give your nervous system time to digest this big upregulation of anxiety that's going to come with it and uncertainty that's going to come with it. So I think just thinking in terms of testing. Now, I've made some videos on this. I think a great way to kind of do this is, one, plan before you retire, then do a test in your final year of work when it doesn't feel as significant. When you're working and you have income coming in, it just hits different. You can test your retirement lifestyle, obviously financially, not from an hours and minutes perspective. I mean, if you're still working, you're going to work. But from a financial perspective, you can test it while you're working. So test drive that for 6 months or a year while still working and see what that feels like. So when you transition into retirement, it feels a little more natural. Then there's a third element here, which is just, I think, knowing numbers, trade-offs, and possible risk factors always helps reduce anxiety. If I've never weightlifted before and I don't know what a deadlift is and someone tells me to do it, I'm filled with anxiety. I don't want to get hurt. I've seen people do that with their backs, whatever. If someone teaches me about the potential risk factors of deadlifts and then tells me what the most likely weight people get injured at or number of reps, all of a sudden I can feel better. If I know that people usually get injured after rep 10, I might just lift 5 or 6 for the first few months and get comfortable with, that hinging and lifting motion. Is this the same here? If you know your numbers and you have run certain retirement scenarios and you feel good about contingency plans, even though it's all theoretical, you know your fire drills, it doesn't solve it, but it helps a lot because it reduces the amount of variables that are uncertain. And the human brain is wired this way, which is the more uncertainty there is, the more we project uncertainty. So removing chaos and unknown variables by solving them removes the total expected or perceived uncertainty. So I know this is kind of like a nerdy way to explain it. I'm not sure if that's entirely helpful, but if we just sum that back up, it would be 1, give yourself permission that it takes a little more time than expected. 2, tactically run some tests, do it incrementally or do it in dry runs, increase spending slowly over a period of time by having tests, or if you can, do it while you're working. And then finally, have a good plan in place that you have run contingency tests on so you know what you would do if things go wrong. I call this the fire drill, or the earthquake drill. I'm in California. People who've never lived in California, they come here or don't live in an earthquake state. An earthquake feels catastrophic. But if you're in California, you've been doing earthquake drills all your life. I know I'm going to tuck, duck, and I'm going to get under my desk. I know exactly how I'm going to do this. It's drilled into me since I was 5 years old and in school. And so earthquakes just don't feel that chaotic anymore, even though they're large and devastating. So, yeah, I hope that was helpful. And again, thank you for your support of the channel. Z needs more. Real quick, let me show you the exact 3-pillar comprehensive retirement roadmap that takes retirees from uncertainty to peace of mind that less than 1% of retirees actually have in place. Now, I've built hundreds of these for retirees, and I can say with a high degree of confidence that these are the 3 pillars every retiree needs to have in place in order to have full confidence that they're not missing anything in their retirement plan. And I broke each of these down by the specific questions. You can see them here that each needs to be answered and the best way to answer them. Now, we've done this across pre-retirees, recent retirees, married couples, single retirees, $1 million portfolios, $10 million portfolios, all the above, and it works. And it's my gift to you today. It's absolutely free. It's in the first link in the description below this video. It's going to say free comprehensive retirement roadmap training. Just click the link, enter your info, and you'll get instant access all for free.